absolutely.
Better?
Yeah. Thank you. Um, Also, thanks for taking some time out of your day to hang out and chat with me. I greatly appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
What is your shirt?
My shirt is Redivider.
Do not know them.
They're a uh they're a local band. So I live in Louisville. They're local to Louisville. They are death metal.
Music's music.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah.
It's all good.
I love all kinds of music, and uh I'm all over the place. I started doing this just because I really like to talk music with literally anyone. So
I was listening on my way in from the office to get here. I was listening to some Arch Enemy and Children of Bodom, Moonspell, Nevermore. It was a compilation.
right on.
Yeah, one of those late '90s Century Media compilations. I don't
Yeah.
know if you've ever seen them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I'm probably, I don't know, how old are you?
a lot older than you, 20 years older than you.
Oh, you think?
I'm pretty confident.
Are you 70?
No, but I'm 61.
Okay, so you're about 12, 13 years older than me. Oh, I'll give you that. Okay.
You're
You
about
don't,
48.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. You don't look 61.
thank you. Well, actually, I'm not. I'm 60. My birthday is on Monday.
Okay. Well, happy early birthday.
Thank you.
Uh, hey everyone, we're here with Todd Severin from Ripple Music. Todd, again, right? Thanks for hanging out. I greatly appreciate it.
You're
Um,
welcome.
what what like piqued your interest with music to begin with?
Um, well, yeah, everybody's got their stories, right?
Yep.
um, and everybody's got their tales of woe. I think let's just say that my childhood was a little unsettled, and the place where I could find um, solace was when I was locked in my room playing music. It was like the one place you can be where the rest of everything else was just, drowned out. It was your
Yep.
safety place. And so music has been just my salvation, my safety place, um, my joy, my passion since I was, I mean, literally a little kid. I think I bought my first record with my own money when I was probably around 8.
Okay.
Um, it was Jim Croce, Time in a Bottle, 45. Don't remember what was on the back of it. Might have been Operator on the back, because I know I had Operator also. But I love Jim Croce and I love Time in a Bottle. And so that was the first thing I ever bought with my own money. Probably cost 50 cents back then.
Now I'm gonna have to listen to that tonight because I absolutely love that song and I love him as a songwriter.
He has, the thing about music when it hits right, and I know you know this, and you have many different moods, and the music can always tap into wherever you're at. But um, when you get that emotional resonance with a piece of music, um, like when you're in the audience of something and you get chills,
Yeah.
which to me happens most often if I'm in musical theater and the singer's just really going for it. But Jim Croce has a song called I Got a Name. And that song, I mean, it's so, he didn't write that. It's one of the few songs he did that he didn't write. It's a cover for him. But he sings it so well and it's so full of passion. I mean, that's one of like 3 or 4 pieces of music I can tell you right off the top of my head that will make me cry every time I hear it.
Right on.
Yeah.
So I always bad Leroy Brown for me. You
Yeah.
know, the way that song just grabs you and it takes you on that journey. It makes you want to move, you know?
He knew how to write a story song. I mean, Bad Leroy Brown, of course. Rapid Roy, the Stock Car Boy, Don't Mess Around with Jim.
Yeah.
They're all these great story songs where it's like you get totally, wait, who's this guy and why is he picking a fight with the biggest guy in town? What's going on? You
Yeah.
know, I love it.
Yeah. Oh man. That's, digging in. I don't see it as much in popular music today. So that's what makes me dig into more underground stuff. And I feel like the underground stuff has a lot, uh, there's a lot more story to it, and not just let's do a quick 2.5 minute pop song and move on to the next one.
Well, and I think I agree with you. I think part of it has to do with the fact that, in the underground, the bands are clearly writing their own music. And a lot of them are producing their own music. So they have their vision. And let's face it, if you're really working hard in the underground, you ain't doing it because you're expecting to get rich.
Right.
Yeah, you're doing it because there's something here that's got to get out there, and you gotta get it out. It's like your life has no meaning unless you get this out. So by the very nature of it, I think there's going to be a lot more passion. Once you get, I'm not going to knock anybody, Beyonce or Taylor, whoever. I mean, I don't listen to it, but props to them for what they've done. But at that point, you have so many people involved in the songwriting, and so many people who are involved in the producing, and the record labels are involved, and the image is involved, and everything's got to fall right into the proper boxes.
Yeah.
So that it all lines up for this brand that can go out to be consumed. And I think it's, unless Taylor breaks away from all that and just picks up her acoustic guitar and just does an unplugged album of new songs from her heart, you're not going to get that kind of passion.
Right.
It's too diluted. There's too many barriers in the way.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's too many hands in the cookie jar, right? Everyone wants to say, no, we need to do this and what
Now, I
have you.
bet you never expected the guy wearing the death metal T-shirt with the Cannibal Corpse poster behind your head talking to the guy who owns an underground stoner doom record label, that our conversation would start off talking about Jim Croce and Taylor Swift.
What isn't the how hilarious is that? But it just goes to show, right? Like having these conversations, you understand that you have the conversations because the passion for the music is so great, and it's not, it's not one dimensional, right? It's just music as a whole.
Music is music. There's very few. You're going to have a hard time coming at me and saying, what genre of music do you not like? The only thing I can think of that I just don't find much value in, for me, is most modern country.
Mm,
It's just kind of big, overly produced rock songs. They're just pop. It's like bad rock music.
yeah.
Um, Now there's some good country being done. Sturgill Simpson's got a hell of a voice. Chris Stapleton, props. There's a lot of good country music being done out there, and I don't dislike country as a whole. And somebody's going to hear this and they're going to go, "Oh, he's such an idiot. He's never heard blah 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 blah."
Right.
And the answer is, you're right. I have not, and I've never heard them or them or them, because I don't care, because I've heard them and them and them, and they turned me off because it's just, I don't need a song about a red cup. I just don't. I'm sorry.
Right. Yeah.
It's not filling a void in my life. It's just not. Good for him. I got no problem. And I got no problem with party music. I just don't like much modern country. I just find it kind of boring.
Yeah, I'm
But
not a
every once in a while, somebody can, still tickle a spot.
for sure. I'm not a big modern country guy either. I do enjoy some of the old stuff. Uh
Old school, baby. Give me some Johnny Cash, man. I'm not going to
oh
turn that
yeah.
off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not at all. Even Willie,
Well,
I love Willie Nelson.
and don't forget Waylon.
Yeah, right.
All of those original Outlaw guys, you can toss in Chris Christopherson and Jesse Coulter, who was going out with Waylon or married to Waylon. Her albums were pretty amazing. And then Modern Outlaw. Again, I consider Sturgill to be kind of modern outlaw, because he just kind of said, fuck you, I'm going to do what I want.
Right.
And it's just that his voice is so soulful. You know,
Steve Earle right in there too, right? He was very,
he kind of did his own thing. He
yeah.
found a way to still do country music, but with this modern edge. And he kind of, crossed over a little bit towards rockabilly. I mean, even I was a disc jockey from 81 to 85 and again in 86 down in Los Angeles. And it was a new wave punk rock radio station. It was LA, it's the 80s. I mean, I got Fear, and it was a great time in music, right? REM's coming in, New Orders, all this stuff's coming in brand new. But Earl was one of those type of guys, kind of like John Hyatt, where you could play a little of his stuff, and it's like the rockabilly people aren't going to get pissed off, and the jangle guitar rock people aren't going to get pissed, and even some of the goth people won't get pissed because Steve Earle's pretty goth in his own
Yeah.
way. He's kind of like American traditional gothic. Um, so it's one of those. It's kind of like Motorhead in the day. You could play for the punks and the rockers, and they both loved it. They both respected it. Steve Earle had that vibe about him.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it's, it's funny. We look at, right, a lot of the punk industry, and some of those guys are swinging over into the singer-songwriter stuff. And like Chuck Reagan, for me, from Hot Water Music, like I never listened to Hot Water Music a whole lot. Not that I disliked them or anything like that. I just never really gave him a chance. And he came out and he opened for Social Distortion. And from the moment he started singing, he started with a cappella. It enthralled me for the entire set.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. There's really a fine line. Punk music, and of course there's kind of different stages through punk music, so you can't overgeneralize anything. And
Right.
American punk and UK punk were also kind of different. But as a general rule, punk music was outlaw country really, really sped up.
Yep.
It's like they had a story they wanted to tell and they had to get it out. And that was their format for doing it. But so many of the punk artists do singer-songwriter stuff because it's just kind of like the flip side of the same coin. It's like, okay, I'm not going to plug in this time, but this is still what I have to say. I agree with you. Some of my favorite albums, there's an album by a band called Everybody Out. It was put out on Tang Records a long time ago, 2010 maybe, 2009. And it's made up a couple guys who are from, I don't know, Cockspur maybe. I mean, that kind of era punk. But it's kind of like, no, we're going, acoustic guitars, maybe a little bit of that Irish Celtic vibe, like you can get at the Dropkick Murphys, unplug, but still come at you hard. And I love that. It's because it's so soulful. It's a
I'm
different
gonna
type of soul, but it's still soul.
I gotta check that out.
Everybody Out. I have it here somewhere.
Of course. Okay, so we've kind of touching on everything. Um, so a couple of like new bands outside of those that you've released recently, Fire Down Below and Temple of the Fuzz Witch.
Mm.
Both of those bands, like Apotheosis is a fantastic album. I've probably listened to it
A
three
death
times.
metal person, a black metal person would definitely see the
Yeah,
see the crossover there.
yeah, for sure. And they put on a really good show. They were just here last week, and I think they're here next week again. So that'll be cool. But that in that Fire Down Below album, what low country desert rock surf?
No, surf, low. Uh, you're killing me, man. You're killing me,
I
man.
know it's low desert.
Low Desert Surf Club, I think. Low Desert Surf Club.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That I was listening to Blessed Black, who is out of Cincinnati. And I just on Spotify let it play, and California came up, and it just grabbed me, and I was like, "Oh my God." And that whole album from start to finish is just a solid piece of musicianship.
Yeah. Um, well, so Fire Down Below first. I have a great story with Fire Down Below. So they wrote me. They had self-released just on Bandcamp their debut record, which was called Viper Vixen something Saint. I should know these titles. They're gonna get pissed off at me. I saw your interview with Kevin, by the way. He's a great guy.
He is.
Viper Vixen something Saint. Oh, what is the name of their debut record? Viper Vixen Goddess Saint. And they self-released it originally on Bandcamp. And they sent me the link. They wanted to sign to Ripple. And they got me at a point in time when I was totally just socked in. You know, the problem with things, you know, with Ripple the way it is right now, I'm like 99% of the work. And so I'm limited as to how many releases I'm going to do in a month. First of all, I don't want to inundate the market anyways. And I don't want to be releasing on top of my own releases because I'll be just diluting the impact of any of my own albums. That's not fair to the bands or to the fans. And I don't want to put out so much music at once that the fans have to decide, well, I want this one, but I can't afford the, you know. So I do a steady 2 releases a month, occasionally 3. I don't like to do 3, but sometimes the schedule just works that way. So the schedule gets backed out. Like right now, you know, 2024 is done. I'm halfway into 2025 as far as my planning goes. So they hit me at a time when I just like, I just knew I couldn't take on another project. It doesn't make a difference. Sometimes I won't even listen to them at that point, you know, because it's just like, why? You know, what's the point? But there's another part of me that wants to listen to every single thing that comes in. Maybe it's a little FOMO, but also it's as an artist, and I know because I'm a writer, that when you put something out there, you just want somebody to listen to it or to read it or whatever. They're not, maybe if they don't even take it, at least you want just somebody to come back and say, yeah, I got this, thanks, I can't handle it. Better than just putting it out there and hearing crickets, right? Because then you never got anything. At least you know that somebody at least listened to it. So for a long time, and I still pretty much do this, everything that comes in, I'll listen to. I'm not going to listen to the whole thing, trust me. But maybe I'll listen to, you know, the first 2 or 3 songs just to get a feeling for what they're doing. Probably not the whole 2 or 3 songs. That's something else we can talk about, but you don't have time to listen to everything.
Right.
But, you know, you can get a good feeling for what's going on in the first couple of minutes of each song. And then I'll just send them back, say, hey, like what you're doing here, blah, blah, blah. I can't take it. At least they got some feedback. And so with Fire Down Below, it was one of those records where I played it and I told them no, because I didn't have time. And I just kind of kept finding myself putting it back on. You know, even though I wasn't going to put it out, I just, let's play that one again. If you haven't heard their first record, the opening duo of songs, one's like a big introduction going into the song. It's a moment. It's just a moment. And so I finally remember I was in Napa Valley and my wife had gone into a drugstore to get some stuff. And I was just sitting in the car waiting for her. I go, I'll put it on again. And I cranked it up really loud. And I just, man, there's something about this. So I wrote them, either Kevin or Bert. Those are the 2 guys I tend to speak with the most. And I said, yes, and I know I said I can't do this, but I got to do this. So, so let's do it. And so, you know, we put it out, and then we put out their the second record that came out after that one, and then this is their third.
Yep.
And I've been over to see the guys play many times. They played over at the first Ripple Fest we did in Cologne. They played at the Ripple Fest in Nantes, France. Now they're coming over to America.
Yeah, super excited about that.
Yeah, John Giss is going to come into the Vegas Planet Desert Rock. Great guys, all of them. Every time we were just out in Belgium a little while back and went out to dinner with the guys. Then the next day, Kevin hung out with us in Ghent, and we just got drunk. We just had a ball. I mean, they're probably some of my favorite people I've worked with since I've been in this. So, the Low Desert Surf Club is just, they took their desert vibe that they always explored, and they kind of removed a little bit of the space rock and just really delved into it. And they had Nick from Elder producing it.
Yeah.
Which is the first time they've worked with an outside producer. And I think it showed. I mean, it really elevated. That record's great. It's the only problem I have with the record is it's a double record and I need to repress it. And it costs a freaking fortune to press a double record.
Yeah.
Don't give me a double record, man. I don't want a double record.
It is you know, I have listened to their whole discography because I I was so enthralled with that last album. I thought, well, to me, this is something special. I really enjoy it because same way, I couldn't turn it off. I just every time I turned around, like, man, I want to listen to that again. So I listened to the whole discography and you can see the progression. And you're right. When Nick comes in to produce, it really did take them to that next level
Right.
in the studio. And I
Now,
I harass them. Man, I want you guys in the States so bad. Like whatever I got to do, you know, I'll sell my house, you know. Um, he's like, oh, uh, and when that got announced that they're going to be in Vegas, I was like, oh, I know where I'm going to be.
yeah, I'm John does a good job with his Planet Desert Rock festivals anyways, and he's always been very supportive of Ripple, and he's always made sure there's a lot of Ripple bands, and I've always um, kind of sponsored him in what he's doing. But this year he came to me and said, listen, I really want to do a whole Ripple night. And, we'll do some US bands, but I want to bring over some of the bands um, from Europe that don't get over here that people have never seen. And so we kind of sat down and we kind of came up with what that short list would look like. And Fire Down Below was absolutely top. I didn't think they'd do it. Because they're all they're family guys and they got jobs.
Yeah.
It's hard just to honey, gonna go to Vegas. Not just America, mind you.
Right.
Not just gone for the weekend, but I'm going to Vegas, baby. It's like, yeah, right. They, they're doing it. I actually talked to them just recently and I said, if you're coming out, tell me, I'll set up a show in San Francisco for you while you're out this way. We'll do a Ripple Fest out there. Trust me, I can get a Ripple Fest, together in 5 minutes around you guys. But they just want to do Vegas and fly back home. So when you're there, we'll all get together. We'll have a nice dinner, a few drinks together. I don't know how long they're going to stay, but I'm planning on being there for 3 days for this one.
Thursday to Sunday.
Yeah, I don't know how long the band will be there though.
Thursday to Sunday.
They're going to be there the whole time.
Yeah, I just talked to Kevin earlier today.
You're in the know.
Yeah.
I think
I've
Kevin a great guy.
yeah, yeah.
So he took me to this place in Ghent with my wife, and I can't remember what it's called or what the story is, but you get a boot of beer is what they call it. So a boot, yeah, it's essentially a yard, right? So it's a full yard.
Is it the
But
glass boot?
it's a glass boot, and it's it's a 3.5 beers or whatever it is, but it's also Belgian triple, so it's real pretty strong. And it's called a boot either because of the glass or whatever. But the way this bar works is that in order to get it, you have to take off one of your shoes, and you put your shoe in a bucket, and they raise the bucket up to the ceiling, and you don't get your shoe back unless you return the glass unbroken. So everybody's sitting in there drinking with one shoe off, and the place smells a little bit, a bunch of feet. But after halfway down your yard glass, you could care less because you're just. I drank after drinking 3.5 Belgian triples within a short period of time. We were flying pretty good.
You're feeling pretty good. Yeah,
that's pretty good.
I love me a Belgian triple too.
Oh man, the beer in Belgium was so good. I think it's the best overall beer I've had in my life. I've been through Germany. I've been but drinking a beer in Belgium, you're just not gonna get a bad one.
Right on.
Yeah.
All right, that's a trip I have to take.
Well, when we're in Vegas, we'll go out to dinner with the boys.
Okay.
And my wife will join us. She loves the boys. She loves them. Her and Jaron get along great, and they're just the whole band's amazing. And we'll find a place that has Belgian triples. We'll see what us American guys can do against those Belgian guys.
Probably not near as much as we want.
Oh man, it's in their blood.
Yeah. Well, drinking age over there is like 16 or 18, I think. I gotta think.
I think it's birth.
Yeah. No, I'm kind of confused because I interviewed a band from Australia and they can drink at 18 and that's when they also get their license. I think in Belgium it's drinking age is 16, and then they don't get their license till they're 18. So they're already acclimated to the alcohol, right?
I love the Aussie way of doing it. Here's your driver's license. Here's a beer.
Yeah. Yeah. Go. Oh
Go.
no. Um, so what Temple of the Fuzz Witch, and I do have to say that that latest The Obsessed album. Wow.
Yeah. Right. So Temple of the Fuzz Witch, I mean, that was kind of a surprise out of nowhere for me. I was in Florida and I got the email, and I'd heard of them a little bit, but not, I don't think I'd heard it, their first record. I just kind of, the name was out there. Cool name. I like the name. Um, and I remember putting it on. It was early, like 5:30 in the morning, and I tend to get up really early and start doing Ripple stuff. And I probably only got like 2 or 3 songs in, and I said, "Yep, okay, this is pretty remarkable, And I love. I mean, obviously the riffage is amazing, the tone's incredible, and it just seeps blackness.
Yeah.
The way they do what they do. Um, and I have to admit, one of the things I liked about it is I don't like people thinking they know what I'm going to do. And that's not to say that I'll intentionally do things just to fuck with people or just to throw off expectations. It's just I've never thought of the label as being a stoner doom label, or I think it's a rock. I put out rock music.
Yeah.
It's most of it's heavy, not all of it. Some of my music isn't that heavy, but it's just stuff that I happen to like. And so I do like, I mean, you and I started our conversation talking about death metal. We went right into Jim Croce, and we could probably go through, we did country, we did Steve Earle. We could probably start talking about reggae. Music is music. I listen to all of it, and I'm not going to get pigeonholed into just one particular sound because that's what people think they can expect from me.
Right.
I'm not going to do something way out of bounds. I'm not going to be putting out a pop record. It's yeah. Well, maybe back up. If Taylor does come to me with her Doom record,
You hear that, Taylor Swift? We need a Doom record going out on Ripple.
Taylor, let's do it. She's talented enough. She could probably have. Miley could do it. We know that. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Miley's a rocker at heart, anyways. But I mean, so I'm not going to go too far, and I'm not going to put out a true death metal record because it's not really what I listen to that much. But I like such a variety of music, and I don't like people thinking that it's all stoner, which kind of means it's going to sound like Fu Manchu or even Caius. It's like, yeah, I love them. And Fu Manchu is really what got me into this whole genre. I missed Caius when they came out the first time. Fu Manchu is what got me in. But there's so much else. I mean, if I want to put out something really heavy, I'm going to do it. If I want to put out something really kind of light and spacey and psychedelic, I'm going to do it. And with Temple of the Fuzz Witch, it just really hit that niche that I wanted something. I was in the mood for something dark and heavy, and that came to me right at the right time. It was kind of like when Suncrow came to me. I mean, that Suncrow record is amazing. Have you heard Suncrow?
I haven't. I'm gonna have to listen to it though.
Yeah, it's Suncrow. It's the vinyl sold out. I actually just found 2 file copies for people who asked me for them today. It's been sold out for a while. It's a double record. It costs so much to repress a double record. I'm going to do it though. I'm going to repress the Fire Down Below too because we're sold out of that one. You got to do it. I mean, you got to keep the music out there. It's so good, and both bands are playing. One of my arrangements with our bands in general. So there's a lot more than you wanted to know, but so.
No, I really enjoy this because I've got some friends that run some labels, and I know like every label has their own unique way of doing things.
So from the beginning when we started, my promise was as long as you are an active touring band, I will keep your records repressed so that you always have something for your merch table. There are some labels, just others. I'm not going to name names about anything, but I never understood it. If they're going to, their whole purpose is to put out 300 copies of a record and then they're done. It's like, well, okay, what happens after that? Yeah, how's that helping the band? Other than the fact you helped get the name out, but now they still need the stuff on the merch table. You still have to be reaching out to new fans. You got to grow the whole thing. And if the whole purpose is to sell 300 records and be finished, the band needs 302. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
So as long as the band's active and touring band, I keep their stuff in press. If they break up, if they're just not doing anything, I mean, you can't do it. I can't do it. I don't have the resources. I can't keep every record I've ever done in press.
Right.
If the band's not out there to promote it and do things with it, because there's so much music out there, I mean, it could take you 10 years to sell out of 300 copies.
Yeah.
So you can't do it.
I just literally had a conversation with a guy in Michigan who's like, yeah, we were in this band, we were touring, and we went and pressed 1,000 copies, and I probably still have 800 in my basement.
Yes.
I'm like, ah.
And they're sitting there.
Yeah.
I mean, that it happened to me with way back when the label first started. We were working with a band in Ireland called Trucker Diablo. Not quite the type of sound you would expect to come from us today. They were definitely a little bit more Bryan Adamsy-ish. They were rock, more mainstream though. But their first record was killer and had some songs that were like, they had this amazingly funny video done with a comedian, and they had like a ZZ Top vibe to them. I mean, they were cool, and they're great guys. I mean, I still to the day, I've talked to Tom. I love him. He's a great guy. So we did their first 2 records. And the first one sold out immediately. It was CD only, sold out immediately. Probably 500, maybe even 1,000 copies. Who knows? Sold out. So the next one comes out. Next one actually wasn't as good as the first one. My ears, I think that they changed their style too much. But because of the success on the first one, we pressed a lot. I don't know, maybe 1,000, maybe not, maybe 500. Who knows? And probably 1,000 CDs. And we repressed the first one. And like within 2 weeks, the band broke up. And so I'm sitting there, and I got like literally like more than 1,000, maybe 2,000 units of just product from a good band that was developing a really good fan base, but now they're not going to play anymore. Family stuff, the guys had, whatever, wives and kids, and they've since reformed, and they've since put out a couple more records, and they're doing great. I think, and they're playing a lot of festivals in the UK, and they think they're pretty big in Ireland. I'm still sitting on like 6 boxes of CDs. And I keep writing Tom. I go, Tom, don't you want any of these? He goes, oh, we got the new stuff. I'm like, you're killing me.
Like, yeah, but you can still sell these, right? Come on.
I actually did. I sent him a whole box. I said, dude, pay for the postage. I'll send you a box. I just gotta get them out. Just gotta move. It's not doing anybody any good here. Sell it, make some money.
It takes up valuable real estate, right? Like,
well, and there's get it into the hands of people who might enjoy it. It's just it's not nobody's enjoying it in my storage space. The ants, 2 spiders.
Like a good place to come hide.
Oh yes. Oh, I like Trucker Diablo.
Yeah, well, and that's I think a lot of smaller bands, that's what they do. They're like, oh, we can get a decent price if we do 500 or 1,000 copies, and then they've got to chuck those around everywhere, and it takes up space, it takes up time to manipulate, move it around. And what some labels do that I think is a really wise thing is to print a lot fewer copies and do variants. So we're gonna do 300 of this. Oh, that's sold out, and it was red. Now we're gonna do 300 yellow, and
right.
I really enjoy that. So just speaking of that real quick, is that new Fire Down Below going to be a different variant when you repress it?
It is. This one was like surf blue. I always, just in my own mind, want Fire Down Below records to be read, just because it's, so evocative. But if you know the new record, it's a double record, but it's actually three sides of music, right? Because the fourth side is etched, laser etched,
Oh,
and it's cool. It's like the Low Desert Surf Club logo, and there's art, and it's um it looks really, really cool. You run into a problem with time length on albums. A lot of new bands make this mistake. I was a little surprised that Fire Down Below did, because they're more experienced, but I think they just got onto such a creative wave working with Nick, that you get a lot of bands will turn in the wrong length of music. Okay, so vinyl is really created for 18 to 20 minutes per side. So a perfect length album is somewhere around 40 minutes, 18 to 20 minutes per side. You can push it a little bit. You can get out to 22. If you go much beyond that, if you get out to like 24, 25 minutes per side, you get real compression of the grooves, and you get a overall reduction in volume and sound quality. Could I hear the difference? I don't know. I don't, I'm not a producer. I don't know if I have the ear that's going to pick up some of these subtle details, but still, you don't want to pack too much onto a side. It just reduces the overall quality. So if the perfect length is, 40 minutes, then a perfect double record is going to be something like 80 minutes.
yeah.
75, 84, 88, somewhere in that range, right? And then you always get these bands that'll turn in something like 50 minutes or 65 minutes. And I don't remember what it was with this particular record, but it was in that space where it's like you're way over a single record. But if you're going to do a double record, you're going to wind up doing something like 15-minute sides, which I don't know if you've experienced it, but it pisses me off.
Yeah, you're just starting to get into it and you got to go flip it.
And you got to go flip it. And a lot of records that came out like from the 90s into the early-ish 2000s that were never done on vinyl, but were only CD issues, that are now getting reissued. Major label stuff, they're all getting now reissued. It's like, well, it was a 65-minute CD, which was great. That's great. That's a lot of music for a CD. Well,
Yeah.
now you're fucked, because you're going to put it on vinyl. And so it's going to be a double. So a lot of these records, and I have some, I don't even know which one it might be. It may be something like Metallica Load. I'm just guessing. It's going to be one of those things where you're going to get 15 minutes. There'll be 2-song sides, for the whole thing. And that pisses me off. The other thing you can do is you can make the record to spin at 45 RPM. And there's an advantage at that. Number one, 45 RPM, the time actually does go faster. So you are down into that 15 to 17 minutes per side. But at 45 RPM, the sound quality is even better. Things sound better spinning at 45. So I will sometimes play with that. I have a few records that I've released on 45 RPM just so I can do that sort of thing. On this one, we decided to do the other side as a laser etch, which is pretty cool. Do you not have a copy of the album?
I don't have the album. Uh, I have it coming to me from Kevin.
Okay. Has he already sent it?
Maybe.
Okay.
I don't
Because
know.
I get you.
So we were talking about earlier. I was like, "Hey, record. I want that record." He said, "Okay." I ordered all the records. He's got a poster from Ripple Fest he's sending me to, and I was like, "Yeah."
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I would okay, if he's sending you a big package, that's one thing. I would rather he keeps his record and I find you a file copy here. So he has the record to sell to a fan, and it's going to cost so much money for them to ship it your way. But
I'm paying for it. So it's
okay,
not coming out of their pocket at all.
okay, all right. Well, good.
I try to be very, very conscious of cost for a band. So if
Yeah,
if I want something, I'm never like, "Hey, will you give me this? I'm like, hey, how much is that? Right.
Right.
Because I like the band. I want them to keep going.
Yeah, and I do that too. A band will come to me and like, hey, really, let's talk. I want to be on Ripple, and our last record's here, and it's on Bandcamp, and so I'll listen to it, and I'll go, oh man, that's awesome, and then I'll buy it, and they'll go, well, I would have sent you a copy. No, yeah, you sell that copy.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
band food.
Yeah. Like you guys have a business too. I'm not going to walk into a store and go, hey, can I have like free 10 gallons of gas? No,
Right.
I,
Yeah.
I'm going to
I
pay for
happen
it.
to make T-shirts, and you sell them in your store. So can I get free jeans from you?
Right.
No, you.
Right. No, we all have we got to keep the business going, whatever that is.
Well, you're gonna love Fire Down Below live. They really put on a good show.
I'm I I think they do too. They like the way the music runs, like I've seen clips of them live. I really want to experience the show. I've got a couple of buddies of mine from here. As soon as it was announced, I was like, "Hey, you want to go to Vegas?" They were like, "Yeah, awesome." So I got some friends, and I'm like, "You got to listen to this. These guys are great." I think I think it's going to be a really good time, and it'll be nice to meet Kevin and Bert and everyone.
And I think Joran is a vastly underrated singer.
It's a great voice.
Great voice, very great voice. To me, they should be, there should be a band that's popping off.
I think they're going there. It seems like it. This watching the Spotify plays, if that means anything, right? But
Yeah.
their plays are climbing. I mean, I feel like they've got a lot more plays than bands that aren't that are doing as much or more. So that, yeah, in my amateur opinion, I feel like that means something.
But one of the biggest compliments that I can ever get is that a band who I discovered, found, worked with, whatever, gets so big that they get poached off to a bigger label.
Yeah.
Because I that's fine. I can only do so much. I'm not, some of these labels, it's like my band. It's like
Yeah.
they really aren't. You help them, which is great, and it's a good relationship and it's fun. But you know, like when Gozo, who I love, great guys, and I still worked with one of the guys from Gozo in the band Blood Lightning. So our relationship is fine. There's no hard feelings anywhere there. Um, so it's like when Gozo came to me and we did the record Revival together, which was a great record. And they say, hey, we just got an offer from Metal Blade. What should we do? I should go, you should say hi to Metal Blade for me.
Yeah.
Of course. I mean, it's Metal Blade. You know,
Yeah.
Go
So
for it.
I always I never understand the thing where it's, oh my God, they got so big. They're such sellouts. They're this, they're that. Like, I'm a fan. I If you guys want to go sell out stadiums, I hope you get there. I'm going to support you every step of the way. I'm going to buy your merch, whatever it is. Why do I want to keep you to myself?
Right. Well, and the fun thing is that if you are a great fan, and at this level, the nice thing is that the separation between bands and fans and media, and we're really all in the same bowl.
Mm-hmm.
It's just we're all in the same soup, and it's like if you really are connecting with a band now, say Fire Down Below, right, with Kev, and 3 years from now they're headlining Wembley, right? Fire Down Below Fest, yeah.
Yeah.
The cool thing is, of course, we'll be there, but you know Kev, so you can hang out backstage.
Right.
You know,
Yeah. I mean, I guess, yes, that's really cool. That's a really cool aspect. I'm like, and I get it. I just had a conversation with someone. Do you know the band Spotlights?
I do not.
They're a great band. They're on Ipecac, and the best way I know to describe their music is it's like a doom gaze.
It's like what?
Doom gaze.
Okay.
So uh the music has been all encompassing, every album. It's it's almost all heavy, and it takes you along on these rides. And then their latest album, Alchemy for the Dead, came out, and it's a little softer, but it grabs you and takes you on this journey. And I'm talking to him and I'm like, man, what a like holy shit, this thing is so good. And they're like, and I saw them, they were playing where were they? They were in Lexington a couple weeks ago with another band. And I went down and was talking to who was it? Sarah and Mario, who are Sarah plays bass and Spotlights. Mario's he does almost everything else, and then Chris plays drums. So Sarah and Mario were playing with Sisters in Lexington, and I'm like, man, you guys are, I really, you guys are getting all the success. Like they're getting ready to go to Europe with Mr. Bungle and Oxbow. They're like, yeah, I'm putting on makeup at a in a dive bar. I'm like, oh, tonight you are, with a
Now you
band
are.
that hasn't
Yeah.
really been out there, but you were you did the tour with Mr. Bungle last year, like May. They played sold out Palladium show, which is 4,000, people. Holy shit,
Yeah.
and every one of those shows went really well, and now they're taking you over to Europe. Like in my mind as a fan, that's that's pretty fucking successful. That's what you want.
Well, one of the coolest things I've seen in our scene just recently, and you know this one as well, is Tool taking Elder out.
Yes.
And Elder was one of those bands that came out completely from within our scene and was loved and embraced by our scene. And they're homegrown. They're local, but they're not. They're in Germany or whatever, but they're local
Yeah.
to the scene. And for them to be tapped and to go, I mean, Madison fucking Square Garden,
Yeah.
right? And everything that I ever read were fans saying, "Hell yeah, well deserved, go guys! I'm going to catch that show." There wasn't any, like, oh well, they're so big now, they're full of themselves and they're selling out. It's like,
But
get the music out there, man.
that's a real fan though, right? Like that's what you want. Like I guess when you're a fan of a band, you want them to have the success, you know. Shit. I want them to headline, go sell out Madison Square Garden or hell the Sphere or whatever it is, you know, do it.
And then
And if
bring some other bands up with you,
absolutely.
and lift the whole scene.
Yeah. And I think I feel like there was a period where that didn't happen. Some of these bigger bands weren't taking some of the smaller bands out. It was more of a if they could buy on the tour, they would. And
Right.
it's like, well, shit, man. I, I don't want a band to buy on a tour. I want a band to be on the tour that deserves to be there.
Right. Totally. And I know some bands who got moderately big because they were buying them way into the tour.
Yeah.
And again, of course, there's an authenticity issue with that. And the fans see it and it just kind of, bottoms out.
Yeah. Yeah. Take it. My opinion, if you have to buy onto the show, you might not be ready to be at that level yet.
Right. Because that means that they don't see the value of you being on the bill or you can bring in your own fan base.
Yeah. Yep. So get back, stay in the trenches, do what you got to do.
Put your makeup on in dive bars.
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly it.
Which is what
You
I
know,
do.
yeah. Me too. Make sure my eyeliner's right. It's just so dark sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
I just try to make sure I don't look 95.
right. Right. Um, so how do you feel the Obsessed, this latest album, honestly, it was the first time I did a listening party.
Oh, you're at the party?
It was
Yeah.
really like I was actually talking with my Braun Dabney from Crop, which is another local band. We did an interview and then we just stayed on Zoom and did the listening party together, which was, and we're both like, holy shit, this is so good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's urgent. It's you don't expect a band that far into their career to come out with urgency.
Right.
You expect, most bands they'll either taper or they'll get into a comfortable rut, or they're getting older and tireder. It takes a lot for a band to, and I think a lot of it. I mean, Wino's Wino, and the guys, are fantastic musicians. And Wino will say this to you also, is that the addition of Jason on guitar and expanding back to a 4-piece is that he just infused new blood, new energy, new life into that.
You can hear it
And
too.
and it's just, yeah, the record's crisp. It goes someplace. It's
Yeah.
it's 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 in a hurry to get there, and it takes you with it. That's a very special record to me for a number of reasons. Um, First one, it's by far the biggest thing Ripple's ever done. I mean, just the band, the Obsessed. That's, this guy, he knew Lemmy, man.
Right.
He's played with Dave Grohl, man.
Yeah.
Who am I? and 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 I got to know Wino kind of through John Gist. Actually, we had breakfast together one day, and Wino's a cool dude, and he's an interesting guy, and he and I hit it off. You just kind of open up your mind and you just converse. If you come in a conversation with Wino with your mind closed and not willing to listen to new ideas or contribute, but this is my way of thinking.
Mm.
You're not going to have a great conversation with him because that's not the way he is. He likes to explore, and so, as I have no problem talking.
Right.
Get me started, and get me talking on stuff I'm passionate about, like music or other things. And Wino and I just hit it off great. And so that's when we put out his solo record, right, Forever Gone, which was fantastic to work with him. And that was the first in our series of acoustic records called the Blood and Strings Ripple Acoustic Series. And I did that because I fucking love heavy acoustic music. Heavy is not volume, heavy is tone and its intent.
Yep.
And I loved bands like Days of the New, or the Alice in Chains Unplugged, or because it's still just as heavy. So I wanted to do something like that. And that's Wino, of course, was the first one. And we got along great with that record and everything was fine. And then he came to me and was, hey, I want you to do the new Obsessed. Oh, okay. uh, okay. I'm Ripple.
Right.
That was Relapse. that was Metal Blade. But it was, it was a compliment to me because he trusts me and he likes my vision and what Ripple represents, which is the real spirit of DIY family. And that was a big record for me because it's the first record that I've ever actually financed from start to finish. And most of the time, like Fire Down Below, they recorded it themselves. They hired Nick themselves. They mastered it themselves. They gave me the masters. I licensed it, put it out. With the Obsessed, we were from the beginning. Recording studio, the whole works. And I'm doing it again. It's not with Wino. I got a really cool project coming up with Gary Arce from Yawning Man, and that's in the recording studio right now. So it's I'm not going to say that's my new business model because I don't have that kind of resource, but you do what you do to get great music out there. So there was the Obsessed record was definitely one that came from a large part of me, my body, my soul to help get that record out there. So to see the response is phenomenal. And that listening party was so much fun. It's the first time I'd done one. And the fans loved it and the band loved it. The band loved being in there talking about it. And like you said, it just the music kicks. It just smokes.
It was so good. I expected it to be good. I didn't expect it to be as good as it is. it's so phenomenal. I think Jason adds another layer to the to that music, really fills it out, and it just going back to what you were saying earlier, the thing I always enjoyed about music was I could go lock myself in my room and put on my headphones and turn on a record and nothing else mattered. And that, God, this new Obsessed album, that's what it does to me. I'm
Nice.
like, I'm like, oh my God. Uh Jason, Jason is a great addition. Super, super nice guy too.
Yeah, you
Um,
interviewed him, right?
I did. Yep.
Yeah, I saw clips of that one also.
Yeah. He we had I think we had a great conversation, and he, of course, coming into the band was a fan of the band before. So he's like, man, that you can see it on his face. He's like, man, this is so fucking cool. I'm in, this band that I really, really love, I'm playing with. Like,
Well, and I totally get it from his point of view differently. I'm not up on stage playing with Wino. He's never asked.
right.
He's not going to. Um, but just the simple fact that I converse with Wino blows my mind. That I have his phone number, that he texts me randomly throughout the day, that I call Scott Weinrich my friend. I was invited to his wedding.
Right
I
on.
mean, it's like it's a different world than the world I normally inhabit,
Yeah.
and it's cool. It's kind of a little unbelievable to me. I mean, Wino to me, he is, with Lemmy being gone, he is the new Lemmy.
The
I don't want to use that word because
the
Wino's such
embodiment
a
of
gene.
rock and roll.
Yeah, he's the last true lifer out there. I mean, I think there's others. I think the Weed Eater. I mean, yeah, he's Dixie. He's a lifer. There's no doubt about it. I don't know if his persona is quite the same as Wino's. I mean, Wino is that lifer. He's just that persona of pure doom metal. It's just who he is.
Yeah.
And the more success that guy can get, the more he deserves it. I mean, he should be on everybody's name the way Lemmy was. And if there's any tiny little bit that I'm doing to help him increase his legend, then I'm just thrilled.
I I think that you are. And to know, um, I'm sure very much like me, you have a professional life and you have the passion life,
Right. Yeah,
you
I got
know.
I got the day job. This ain't the day job.
Yeah,
This ain't paying no bills, baby.
right. Right.
This is
But
costing money.
yeah, God, I know that feeling.
Yeah.
But you know, so you have the professional life, and then to have the opportunities to sit down and have the conversations and build the relationships with these people that, uh honestly, that they're in the position that when we were kids, it was, oh man, I want to, I'd love to have conversations with that person. I want to see
See,
what that's like.
I never even thought about it.
Oh, I always did.
Oh man, because I grew up. I mean, so I told you about Croce. First record I bought with my own money, Kiss Destroyer, 1977, 76, 77,
Something like
something
that.
like
Yeah.
that. And I'd never even heard Kiss. I heard of Kiss, but I'm like 13, I'm 12, 13, whatever, right? And I just, how do you pass up that album cover? And this is like the day it came out. I was at Jim Croce, which was an early membership department store. It was $3.98. I remember very clearly. And I bought it. I went to my friend's house. He was a big Elton John fan. He loved music, but he's more Elton John. And we put it on, and Detroit Rock City comes on. And it starts off with the, you know, the radio static
Yeah.
and all that stuff. And he's looking at me like, what the fuck did you just buy? And I'm looking at him going, dun, 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 dun. It was like, it's amazing. And then you got the pictures, and like you get alive and you see it. I never in my life thought of talking to They weren't real people. Now, granted, it's Kiss, so they weren't real people, but they weren't real people.
Yeah.
And Aerosmith followed, and whatever, Foghat, whatever you want to go. None of them, to me, were ever real people. They were always rock stars,
Mm.
and I'm always just me, just whatever I am. Even when I was a disc jockey, and I would interview a lot of bands at the radio station. It's kind of like one of my fortes. And good bands like the Church, who from Australia. I mean, great bands like that. Um, but even then, I was just somebody asking the questions. I never saw myself as an equal or even a press. I was just like, I was on the radio. I had a radio show, and you're on the radio show, so talk. I never really thought much about it beyond that. Um, and that followed me all the way through Ripple, because it's never been. Um, I've never seen myself as being the person who's going to be talking to my rock and roll heroes. I just never thought of it. I'll never forget. I'm talking way too much. I'm boring you, I'm sure.
No, no, you're not, because I think it's really interesting that you never looked at yourself as an equal, right?
I,
Because
I don't.
at the end of the day, like, one of the things that I try to dumb it down as dumb as possible, because I'm not very smart. Uh, we're all human,
Yeah.
right? That is our ultimate connection. And then when we get into rock and roll, that's where we are all connected, right? That's where you and I are connected. That's where you and Wino are connected, like, and for me, that's what it was early on. I knew, like, I was like, man, that's really fucking cool that they do that. They're up there in front of all these people and they're big rock stars. I want to ask them a lot of questions.
That's cool. You found your place. Yeah, I can't. I don't know. I just never really was part of my thought process. Probably because the professional lane in my life was always so straight, and it's a narrow lane. There's not a lot of room for expression. I'm a surgeon in the day job.
Okay.
And so you go through medical school, and you do your internship and your residency and your postdoctorate fellowship, and that's your path. And to a certain extent, you're not going to succeed in medical school with Mohawk. You just ain't.
Yeah.
You're not going to get the internship with your Mohawk or the face tats. At least not when I was doing it. Now you might be able to get away with more tattoos. Back
Yeah.
then, you weren't.
They might still look down on the face tats though.
They probably would, and even as it was, I pushed the limit a lot because I just tend not to care.
Right.
So, like in medical school, my ear was double pierced. I was like the only guy with a pierced ear. But I'll tell you, when I started my practice, I took the earrings out because the 80-year-old patients didn't like seeing it. I was young, and they look at me and they go, "Well, you're too young to be my doctor," right? Because I was a specialist.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so whatever. So I think my lane was so narrow that I never envisioned myself doing that. I did the radio show for me because I liked nothing better than be locked in a room full of records and a microphone. I mean, that was heaven for me. Right?
Yeah.
And if people are calling and asking me to play stuff, I had a ball. I did it purely for the fun of it. I never thought of myself as a big DJ or anything contributing to anything other than my own fun. Um, Ripple started because I just loved the music and I wanted to have my fun.
Yeah. No,
you know,
I absolutely get it. I mean, that's why I started the podcast too, is like, I just want to talk music. Like, I want to listen to music. I want to talk music. My day job, I'm a realtor.
okay,
So I sell houses. I've got a property management company, and it's like, I got, tattoos, and I'll show up to a house wearing a death metal shirt.
nice.
Sometimes they're like,
Yeah.
it's okay. I totally understand. But let's talk about the house. Don't look at my shirt, right? Like,
Like,
oh, okay. No, like,
I
man,
can
you,
fill out the paperwork for you, man.
yeah, yeah, I got this. Don't worry.
Well, and I got to a point in my career, I've been doing it for 30 years now. So I got to a point 10 something years ago where I was so established and my reputation was so established for particularly what I do. I'm a glaucoma specialist.
Okay.
There's only so many glaucoma specialists in the country. So, career wise, I'm in a position where I'm kind of set. So, I went ahead and tattooed up my arm and, that's, yeah, and the patients can see it. I tried to actually limit it so that the tattoo would end
Oh,
like
yeah.
where the scrub starts, you know. But the truth is the scrub kind of pooches out.
Pops
So
up. Yeah.
and the patients know me and they know I'm a little bit crazy and they don't care because I take care of them.
That, and that, at the end of the day, that's what matters. Like, there's still a level of professionalism, obviously, but the regular life is going to bleed through. It just always does.
Having a tattoo did not suddenly make me dumber. But it
Right.
didn't make me smarter either. But
No, no, no effect on that. So what does the label have in the pipeline? Excuse me, in the
um,
pipeline, like over the next few months going.
oh, man, I got some really cool shit, man. Some really cool shit. Uh, I was talking to some guy the other day, and I kind of put it out like this: that there's I kind of look right now at Ripple as having three main avenues. The first avenue is continuing to work and do the best I can with releases from bands that are kind of what you would think of as established Ripple bands, Fire Down Below.
Mhm.
And we have a new Cortez record coming. There's a new Bone Church coming, a new Curse the Sun coming. Um, Foster Mother, bands I've worked with before. We've released successful albums with them before. And they're part of the Ripple family. And now it's time for another record. And so we're going to, now it's cool. Now we get a new Cortez record out. The last one was killer. I can't wait to do this. It's like
Yeah,
the last Kind record came. It's like, fuck, another Kind record. This is awesome. There's going to be a new Crystal Spiders coming. Brenna's amazing. I can't wait to hear what she does. So that's that part of the fun. The second part is constantly this discovery of new bands, and you that's really a fun aspect of the job is to find that band that uh, Goat Major, right, came out of nowhere. Nobody had heard of them at all. In fact, they hadn't released a song. People think they released that EP before I signed them. That wasn't the case. The EP was our marketing plan together, because I knew I had, again, schedule. I'm booked out to here.
yeah,
Records ready. What are we going to do? We'll tell you what. Let's take 3 songs. You release it, self-release it as an EP. We'll help start promoting it for you. Start getting the buzz, get the name out there, and then boom, we'll put out the real record. And that Goat Major record is just catching tons of people's attention.
yep.
Um, a band like Temple of the Fuzz Witch or Haunted, which comes out next, also they had prior records, but it's their first time working with Ripple. And in a perfect world, Ripple's family of fans and reputation can lift that up a little bit more too. It's like there's a certain cadre of being assigned to a certain label. It has a certain recognizable sound, spectrum of sound, and so it's going to open up new fan bases. And I love finding those new bands. It's just always so much fun. And so I can't ever shut that part down. And included in that is working with like Gary Arce on this new project of his, with Pia from Superlinks. And I've heard the demos, we're in the studio recording. It sounds amazing. And it's a cool new project from established musicians. And then we have, something I'm really excited about, which is the Beneath the Desert Floor series, which is the series that I started to bring life and attention back to records that came out during that period of late 90s, early 2000s, which was before internet, before social media, MySpace maybe,
Yeah.
but is before real social media and before the vinyl resurgence. So all these great records came out. Okay. Fireball Ministry, Their Rock Is Not My Rock. Amazing record. One of my favorite records of all time. I have the CD. I've had it forever. It's on my workout mix. I love that album. Never came out on vinyl because it was just fell into that time period. And like I said, it missed the social media explosion. So it got the press it got, and then it's just now it's gone. And
Yep.
it's 20 something years old. So working with Fireball Ministry, putting that record out. We've done the Awesome Machine. I did Glitter Wizard. We have White Witch Canyon coming. We have Datura coming. We have Rollerball. It's so many great bands put out music during that time period that just kind of got forgotten. So Beneath the Desert Floor is to bring all that stuff back.
Right on. Oh, so I've got a buddy who's doing something very similar. He's Louisville focused. So he's taken a lot of older Louisville bands that maybe didn't get a proper release or what have you, and he's releasing all that stuff. And I like that because it's, like what he's doing, what you're doing, because it helps really shine a light on, hey man, these bands were really, really fucking good. And now you can own a vinyl too,
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Well, it's different then from now. Like
yeah,
today, you're not going to have the Louisville bands who never had a proper release, because every single Louisville band that exists today that records and puts an album together can release it. You can put it on Bandcamp. You can get to DistroKid. You can go through CD Baby. You'll be on Spotify. You'll be on Apple Music. You will be released.
yep,
And with a platform like Bandcamp, which I think is a phenomenal platform, if you want to press up CDs, 300 CDs is going to cost you $1,000. It's not a huge investment. You can sell CDs. So, and that's worldwide distribution. And you have to pay for shipping, but still.
yeah.
So the Louisville band now, they're going to get that release. But back then, you couldn't do that.
No, it
You,
was a very different world then, like I'm sure you remember, back in the day, if you didn't listen to the radio because you weren't going to hear the bands you really wanted to hear. You talked to your friends, you did your tape trading.
traded tapes.
Yep. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I really want to, oh, this band is really good. So you start writing letters to them, and how can I need to call them and get a hold of them. I want something more. And you actually had to search and work to find all of these bands. Whereas now, you're right. The distribution is to,
Instantaneous.
yeah,
And so a lot of people actually would then come back and say, well, if I can do instantaneous distribution, and if I'm recording it and I'm mastering it, why the hell do I need a record label? And that's an incredibly valid argument. You cannot disregard that argument. And there's a lot of bands who don't need a record label.
right.
And you can reach a certain amount of success without a record label. All Them Witches has done it all on their own. I'm pretty sure King Buffalo's done it all on their own. At least initially, they certainly did. Great bands, great guys. Put out a lot of good product, and they've done it all on their own. Even Clutch right now doesn't have they're on their own label now. Of course, Clutch is Clutch.
Yeah. Well, I
So
think Metallica's on their own label now too.
don't know what to think about that one.
I, I think for them, that was always the plan.
Yeah, it's just that one's coming like 35 years later.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I got no problem. Good for you guys. Um, so for the newer bands, though, that concept of what do I need you for? That's the argument against, which is valid. And the argument for is kind of the flip side of the exact same argument. And that is because everybody can do that. Everybody and their sister can do that. Everybody with a gazoo can do that. And so it's not that a label so much a tastemaker or a gatekeeper, but to some regard they are, to some extent. I mean, at least with the label, no matter which label, if the label took it on, it means that somebody listened to it and felt it was worthwhile to put out. Doesn't mean it's good, but at least you have that threshold that had to be crossed.
It's good to
Or
someone.
to someone, unless they really don't care what they put out
Yeah.
on their label. And that by itself separates you from a lot of the kazoo bands that just, a kazoo in a toilet and that's my music, whatever, you know. And so it gives it just a little bit of a shine that it can rise above. And then if you're with the right label, and there's tons of good labels out right now. Heavy Psych Sounds does a good job. Magnetic Guys signing a bunch of cool bands. I think the Majestic Mountains doing a lot of cool stuff. Electric Valley, Old Magic Records, King Volume, and there's some really cool labels. Polaroid over in Europe, Totem Cat, which I think is in France. And you get to know the label and you can trust them. If Majestic Mountain puts out something, it's going to be pretty good. Marco's got a good ear. Marco's got good taste. I trust what Marco's going to do. Doesn't mean I'm going to like everything he does, but that's fine. Nobody's supposed to, right?
Right.
But I know that Marco's at least putting out some decent stuff. And if people feel that way about Ripple, then that's great also. So then you've got that next level of, tastemaking, if you want to use that word. I don't like that because I'm not a tastemaker. I just listen to music. But if you want to use that phrase, but at least then you have this association with the label and the bands and the fans within that. So now there's just a lot of reasons how a label can help you get heard above the noise.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is. Right now, like Bandcamp with a trillion bands, it's like a room with a trillion screaming children all wanting your attention. But which kid are you going to pay attention to? Which kid is the one you want to take home as your adoption? There's a trillion kids screaming at you. You want somebody to lift up. This is your child.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, like in a lot of those bands that are doing the DIY, they're really reliant on the Spotify algorithm, right? Or the Apple algorithm to get them in the right spot at the right time with those. Like that's, obviously how I found out about Fire Down Below, which
is exciting that's the way you found them.
yeah, and I'm super grateful for that because Blessed Black to me is like they are a phenomenal band. I listen to them every single day. There's not a day,
Nice.
not a day goes by that I don't listen to them. And now, to run into Fire Down Below and have that added, it's like, man, my playlist for every day is getting longer and longer.
Right.
But both of the bands, in my mind, they have a punch to them that it just takes you along on the ride.
Yeah, I hear you completely. Love it.
Absolutely love it. Okay. Todd, I usually keep these to about an hour. We're coming
Yeah.
up on about an hour and a half.
Yeah, I talk too much.
No, it's great. I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation.
I need editing.
Yeah. Oh, it's not getting edited. We're just gonna put it out.
Well, dude, we're two dudes talking about music that we love.
Yeah,
Where does that conversation stop?
it
I
doesn't.
mean, it doesn't. It doesn't.
No,
We can
no.
launch in so many different directions.
Yeah, yeah. Which just means we have more material for another conversation down the road.
Whenever you want, I'd be honored.
Awesome, Todd. I greatly appreciate you coming and chatting. I'm super excited to see. Really, I'm super excited to see Fire Down Below just take the world by storm because they absolutely deserve it. And you have been kicking ass with Ripple. I'm excited to see where that journey takes you as well.
I appreciate that. Have a live Obsessed record coming down the pike. Just thought I'd leave you with that little
Yes.
nugget.
All right.
Okay, man.
Now I'm excited. Have yourself a great night.
You too. Talk to you later.
Thanks. All right. Bye.
Bye bye.